a song of a loss that is gone. Say, could that loss be I?
Hello, welcome back to the channel. How crazy has it been? We've been in such a long Droughtlander period, and I'm very confronted by the fact that I probably need to reintroduce myself to the YouTube community and the YouTube world because of how much of a break I've had. So I'm terribly sorry for those of you who have been here and helped me grow this channel and this community, and then I sort of jumped ship for a little while. I'm very sorry. Life got in the way and it just became so hard to get time to film these videos. And don't worry, I was thinking about everybody every single day. Every day I put into my thought process, I have to get online, I have to do a YouTube video, I have to explain why I've disappeared. And honestly, the only reason I have is life. But if you're new around here, hello, my name is Kaylee, and on this channel I cover, well, an array of things, but Outlander is certainly one of my favorite topics to talk about. Now, if you are from way back when we were filming continuously, lots and lots of times a week, you might have noticed a bit of a background difference. So just bear with me as we adjust this. I have been shuffling my office and my filming space around. So you're going to see, especially in this video, multiple facets of what I love. So we've got obviously our Outlander stuff going on back there. Then we have some Disney, Lego, things like that. Eventually, once I've cleaned up my office, which is a task on its own and one of my main reasons I haven't been filming, we're going to have an Outlander dedicated filming space so that we can jump back in, because this channel means so much to me and I do not want it to just disappear into the oblivion of YouTube. Now, all that said, and if you're sick of hearing me babble, I should have put a timestamp for when we're going to jump into the Season 7, Episode 1 discussions. In fact, I will. It's down here. Now, if you are also new around here, I clearly cover the episodes. They are spoiler based. If you haven't seen the episode and you don't want to know anything, this is definitely not the video for you. There will be somebody on the internet discussing a spoiler-free-ish, maybe, episode review, maybe not. And I'm also going to be doing something different this time around. I'm going to be incorporating parts of the book that I like. So if something is completely different, I will be including what my thoughts are from the book version of it as well, because we're in such a muddy area at the moment in regards to book timeline versus TV timeline. So it's very, in my mind, I'm such a book dedicated fan. I love the TV show more than life itself sometimes. So I definitely have my respect and feelings for that, but I like to compare. Even though you shouldn't. You definitely shouldn't. They are two entities, and I have always said, be happy that we have the TV show that came from the books, but don't expect the books to be in the TV show. And then I've sort of converted back to, I really just want certain things from the books in the show. And this episode really didn't disappoint. So in that aspect, I'm very happy. Now, I have seen lots of people talking about Season 7, and I mean, we usually pre-hand would have discussed all these things in previous videos. So in my timeline of Outlander Season 7 content that I'll make a playlist for, we're going to be a little bit mucked around. We should have already certainly discussed the opening theme song and deep dived into that. And I'm going to do a separate video all about that because I have some thoughts about it. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably in the minority and I really don't like it. I'm so sorry. I just don't like the new theme song, but we know I'm very picky all the time. Every time a new theme song comes into play, I am always one of those people that's like, I don't like it. I don't like it because I don't like change. I don't think this one is going to grow on me. I'm just putting it out there. Fingers crossed that it does. My other problem with Season 7, before we even kick off and talk about the episode itself, is their airing schedule. So I don't know what time or day it is being released in the US, which is where most of you guys are from. But for me here in Australia, it is being aired on a Saturday, which is just painful. So it drops obviously like on streaming services in the morning on a Saturday. But for myself, I don't get to view it until Saturday night at least. And then sometimes even Sunday. So it's really upsetting my schedule of events, because this first episode, and another reason why this video is late, is because I was out on the Saturday and it just didn't happen. So, I mean, I didn't get to watch this episode, the opening episode, until about Monday. And it really broke my heart because it was the first season that I wasn't there. So that hurt. So the airing schedule is killing me. Now, also, this video is clearly 2 episodes deep. I have seen the second episode, but I'm not going to discuss that in any way, shape, or form. And whilst I watched the first episode, I made notes. So I'm going to refer to those notes so that I don't get the second episode entwined. So if you haven't seen the second episode yet, I won't be discussing that at all in this episode. So you're safe for that episode for now. But if you're in America, please let me know. Is the airing date for this season for you guys a Friday? I'm assuming it's a Friday, thinking of the timeline of world time. But if I'm wrong, are you guys happy with it? And is it a better airing spot than what we've previously had? Because I know previously for us we would get it Monday night, so it would be a Sunday for you guys. So that was really, I thought that was a prime sort of airing spot. Have we gone down a notch in airing day positions? I'd love to know, because I don't really understand the airing process for America. I know what days here in Australia are your prime view, like you want certain days, and Monday was always a good spot. You wanted a Monday night. Now that I've rambled on about all of that though, let's talk about season 7, episode 1. Now, most people that I've seen just in little snippets talking about this episode, or, you know, starting to discuss season 7, are really focusing on it being, well, we're season 7, we're an echo to the bone, but we're not. We are still finishing A Breath of Snow and Ash in regards to the books. Now, like I said, I'm going to throw book snippets in, but for myself, because we're still in that Breath of Snow and Ash, I feel like the opening sequence of this is really giving us our season 6 final. I feel like this is how season 6 should have ended. In fact, even the way this episode itself ended, I would have been fine with that being the season finale of season 6. So that was my only sort of like, oh, this could have been back a year and I could have started afresh. I also get why they didn't, but the fact that we're still in a previous book to say for the new season, it's throwing it a little out of whack for me. But as we jump into this season for non-book readers and we see the hanging of Claire, or dreamscape or dream, whatever's happening, I myself, when I was seeing this come out in promos and things, I was like, okay, well, a book reader, I know she's not going to die like this in any aspect of the show, but what's going on? Who's envisioning this? Who's having the dream about this? It was a really good scene to throw in. I absolutely enjoyed it being there because you really get that sense of, oh, what's happening? Okay, where's Jamie? Why isn't he rushing to say what just happened? So if you are not a book reader, you could instantly have that shock factor for a few seconds at least. So we know that Jamie, of course, is already rescued by Ian at this point from our previous season, and we know that he's instantaneously going to be heading off to save Claire. So off he goes on his white horse, headed to save Claire. I love the scenes and the interactions between Jamie and young Ian. Even though they're really short, they're very direct and to the point, and I really appreciate that. In the other sense, we then see Claire, who's now in jail, and she's meeting her cellmates and discovering, you know, she's in with a forger and she's in with all these other ladies, and she's starting to understand that, ooh, the war is affecting everything here. Even though she's there and she, you know, is on trial for being a murderer, she's sort of got a bit of time up her sleeve because the courts aren't open. So nobody's going to be there to schedule her death at this point. You know, she's sort of got that, I've got a bit of a leeway here. And I think you can see that being played out. She definitely doesn't have this, I mean, obviously she's nervous and she's in a bit of a, oh, I'm in prison for murder. But you don't have that timely essence of, I'm about to die sort of from Claire, which is obviously really good too, because you don't want that portrayed through our main strong female character. So I really appreciate that they didn't do that to her. And she's, I mean, we know Claire's so smart. She knew that the courts weren't open and that things were, but it was just the way it was played out was perfect. Of course, jumping to the Brie and Roger scenes. Now, they don't get much of a spotlight throughout this episode because there's so much happening with Claire and Jamie, and Tom Christie obviously comes into play, so I appreciate that they got a mention and they got some scenes, but they weren't sort of overshadowing the main event of this episode. But I do really like that we got to see Wendigo Donna. Now, this character, again, for book readers, you understand how much, in the books, I believe he is more vile than in the TV series. I mean, I, of course, understand the concept of him, and I understand his time travel and why, and starts out as a wonderful person, I'm sure, to go along and change history. But in the books, and as we see in the TV show, he's not a nice person. And what made me sort of really think about him as a character in this episode is when I was watching this episode with one of my friends, the conversation came up of, well, yeah, no, he's right. Like, if Roger goes to save him, he's putting himself in danger. But like, if Wendigo, sorry, I worded that wrong. If Wendigo Donna had tried to save Claire at the time, he would have been killed. And so the whole, you know, you got to have self-preservation from Wendigo's point of view, which obviously Roger's seen. So, you know, like, Roger understood his side of it. But in my mind, I was like, no, absolutely not. Let him sit there, Roger. Let him rot. Don't even contemplate helping that man. I wouldn't, you know, you just leave him there. Let him deal with his consequences, because I'm one of those people that if you see something wrong happening, you can't just stand there and watch. You have to help, even if you're putting yourself in a bit of risk. But obviously for Wendigo Donna, death would have been his, you know, occurrence had he helped. So it's really hard. But for me, seeing Wendigo Donna there, I was like, you are evil. You're a villain. I don't like you. But it was really interesting to have that and from a friend of mine, that, you know, it's so interesting. So I'm very intrigued to know what your thoughts are on Wendigo Donna. Like, are you nah, he's gone, I'm so dedicated to our Claire character, or are you, I kind of get where he was coming from in not helping Claire in, you know, in her circumstance. Yeah, it blows my mind to think that there are people like Wendigo Donna in the world that would just stand there and watch. So I don't know. But let me know what you think about Wendigo Donna and the interaction that he had with Roger in particular. Like I said, yeah, the Brie and Roger scenes, they weren't very long, they weren't played out, but it was really cool when you seen them having their dialect, and you see that, like all couples, they do have disagreements, as we know, especially in this show. But they reconnect, and Roger basically says, I'm going to do something for him, I'm going to pray for him. And of course, as in this aspect, we see that he's really, you know, in his mind, he's done something, because he's going down the path of, you know, all of his God stuff. And so in his mind, he's doing something, but he's not going against the wishes of Brie, which I really liked Roger for doing that. He sort of had that, okay, I'll do this, but I'm not acting on it, if that makes sense. Claire is still in her prison cell. Obviously, she's not going very far until the governor's wife needs some medical assistance. Now, because of that, some guards go down to the prison and go looking for someone that can assist. And it's at this point that the forger says that she's actually the murderess, so that Claire can just go off and be on the boat. Now, during this episode, I loved how at first you think, oh, that's a really nice thing. But then you sort of discover that the forger actually has a chance of, you know, getting off if it was a murder and not for forging. It sort of confused me a little bit through the episode. So at first I'm thinking, oh, she's a lovely lady. But it was really self-preservation, which is fine. I mean, whatever. Claire's going off onto the boat. She then, of course, meets the governor's wife, and she instantly clicks pretty much that Claire was the murderess, and she's all of a sudden really panicked, like, oh, please don't hurt me, don't hurt my child. Obviously you would be if you think that Claire has done what she's being accused of. So I find it really interesting, though, because during this, the governess sort of has more of a, I don't want to say, like, not a whimsical feeling towards it, but more, I feel like she's more, I don't know, in awe of her being a murderess. And then when she finds out she's not, or more believes that she's not, I don't know. I just really liked the connection. And did you notice it? That's my thing. Did you notice that there was like this, I don't want to say respect, but there was this awe, like this, I don't know. There was like an awe between the governess's wife and Claire, which I found to be really interesting, like a portrayal. Maybe that was just me. Maybe I was just noticing that myself. Then, of course, we have Major McDonald make his grand appearance and blows Claire's cover. Basically says, well, you're the murderer, so I didn't think that you'd be here. And, of course, you know, as a big thank you for everything that's happened in the past, Claire gives him a bit of a mouthful when her back's to the governor, which I really loved because we had that sassy Claire moment. She's certainly not afraid to say what she is thinking, even in the current situation, which I loved. And we have Claire basically discussing, you know, well, she's not a murderer. She can help. she can assist. She's a healer, use her skills while she's here. She's not going to hurt or hinder anybody. And here's a list of ingredients, a list of supplies that she will need from the town in order to help the governor's wife. And of course, at this point, we also discover that the governor and his wife have had six childbirths or 6 pregnancies with a really bad child death rate. So it was like 3 or 4 deaths to the 6 pregnancies, which was really heartbreaking. So you can understand why he's already in a panicked situation, being floating out on his boat to be, avoiding conflict, not getting attacked. They're out in the ocean and your poor wife's pregnant. Like, no matter who you are, it's a whole situation where you'd be stressed. So you can understand his little snappy moments. Long story short, Claire gets her wish and they send off for supplies. Now, her connection that she tells the governor of is, of course, the marvelous man, Tom Christie. Last season, we had very, very heated discussions in the comments in regards to the Christies. I obviously was a book reader, so I knew what was coming. For the show, only people that were like, Tom Christie is evil. And I was sort of sitting there going, oh, I want to type, he's not evil, I love him. Yeah. Here, and again, because I have the next episodes, I'm not going to say too much, but we find out that Tom Christie is here and is in love with Claire. Obviously, I've jumped a little bit forward there because I get so excited when I talk about the Christies because I really do love the storyline of the Christies. But in regards to trying to keep this episode into the timeline of events, Tom then is given the list, and on the list from Claire is written her husband. Now, I don't know if this was actually written in Latin or Gaelic, but either way, Tom Christie knows to go and get Jamie, which we love because he knows that, Jamie is going to be the one to save this situation at this point. So he goes and finds Jamie, explains that Claire's on the boat, that everything that's happening, and then he does the most heroic deed Tom Christie could do. And he goes and gets himself in a position to confess to the murder of Mulva. Now, we know because Tom is, even if you don't like Tom, he didn't kill his own daughter. We know he didn't kill Mulva. So we are very sort of like, well, what's happening here? Why? Why are you doing this? And we discover that he's actually in love with Claire. And during a really touching scene between Jamie and Tom, he even not so much confesses his love for Claire, but Jamie can tell. Jamie knows that Tom is in love with Claire. And it was really touching, this conversation, because we know from previous episodes and previous books how rugged their relationship is between Tom and Jamie. So to see Tom be really raw and gentle and just, this is who I am, what would you say at my death, at my funeral, let's say, to Jamie. And Jamie explains that, even though we've had our our big moments where we don't agree, you were a strong, he just goes through this amazing spiel, and I wish I'd written it down because it was so lovely. But it was like he explains how dedicated Tom is and how, even though he's stubborn, he's very loyal and all these things. And it was just such a good scene. I really enjoyed this scene. It was fantastic. But of course, Jamie obviously at this point knows that Tom loves Claire and that Tom is going to go and confess so that Claire can be set free. We then see Tom go onto the boat and explain to Claire everything, that he loves her and how his life has actually not been as pleasant as we may have seen. Tom Christie goes to Claire and pretty much says, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to confess because I killed Mulva. Claire knows again, this is just wrong. This is not how it happened. He did not kill her. But we then discover that Mulva is in fact not Tom's daughter, but is his niece. Now, obviously, when Tom was away, his brother, and in Tom's words, serviced and looked after his wife, Mulva was born, hence being Tom's niece, not daughter. And we also discover that Tom's wife had been wanting, I believe, to become a witch and was practicing witch-like things, which Tom obviously saw, and he believed that his wife was influencing Mulva in trying to be an evil person, and may not being so much of a witch, but definitely portraying evil traits and evil things and doing evil activities. So poor Tom, you're like, oh, okay, he's really had a bit of a rough life. His wife's gone off and slept with his brother. He's now got a niece daughter. He, his whole belief system is on the rocks. Well, not his belief system, but what he believes is being affected by his wife and offsprings. Because, I mean, what do you call them? Children, niece. He takes her in as his daughter. But it's really hard to dislike Tom at this point, from my point of view. I really like Tom Christie, in case you didn't notice, and now it might explain some of my previous comments in previous videos. But yeah, so you realize that Tom hasn't had just this easily lived life. He really has sort of been taken over the coals in some aspects, and that's probably the way he is. And even though we've seen him like beating Mulva, in his eyes, he was sort of trying to keep her on the right path. Then that's just the way I see it too. You might see it completely differently. So if you do, I definitely want to hear all your Tom Christie comments in below. I love talking about the Christies. They're one of my favorite like little storylines in this entire series. Jamie and Claire then reunite in a beautiful scene, and of course Tom has saved the day, so to speak. It's really a bit odd that it wasn't Jamie. I mean, for showrunners, it would have been a bit of a throw off. Again, Tom coming to save the day. But I really loved it, and I loved their reconnecting. And then we see them later on laying in bed, cuddling and discussing it. And Claire does say to Jamie, "You did not force him to do that, did you?" And Jamie then says, "No, of course not. No, he free will. He's done that all by himself. But you do know, Claire, like you do understand. It's because he loves you." So we know for a fact that Jamie knows that Tom loves Claire, but she, even though she's in denial about it, it's there. It's a big open subject. Tom loves Claire, which I love. I think it's cool. I don't know. Like I said, I'm very Tom Christie oriented, which is sad. As we draw this episode to a close, though, one of the best scenes, we see Jamie get out of bed. Obviously, he's had a lot on his mind over the last couple of days, and it's really bubbled to the surface. We see him go off and find Richard Brown, who is still hanging around town. Now, it's here where they have a bit of a discussion, and I don't really want to say it's a discussion. It's more of a, here's your chance to make your peace with whatever you believe in. And of course, Richard Brown, he doesn't believe that Jamie's going to hurt him or kill him or do anything to him. And even though Jamie does tell him that young Ian and the other Indians are going to get him, that, you know, it's happening. Make your peace with God or whoever you wish to. He makes this really silly comment of, you won't hurt me. You won't do that. And then, of course, we see what I pretty much am envisioning of my book, Jamie, jumping to the rescue. Well, not so much the rescue, but in that scene, I didn't really see TV Jamie, and I saw book Jamie come to life. I mean, obviously book Jamie is there. He lots of people, you know, don't see Sam Heughan as Jamie, but you see Jamie being portrayed on the screen, and that's your Jamie. But for me, book Jamie, that scene, that was book Jamie. The looks, the everything, the attitude, the oh yeah, and that real like okay, and then going to the end, that was the best. The best ending to that episode is exactly how it happened. But there was book Jamie jumping to life for me. With an ending like that, there's really not much more we can talk about in regards to the episode, but I do want to compare it a little bit more to the books, which may not be your thing, so I understand if you click away. But this episode, or the contents of this episode, are happening in chapter 90 of A Breath of Snow and Ash. So we're still in the previous book. Obviously, book readers know this, and from this chapter really forward into this book, there's a lot of things that have already played out on screen. So if you're not a book reader and you're sort of interested in the timeline of events, this one's for you. So basically what is happening next, after these scenes have portrayed in A Breath of Snow and Ash, Stephen Bonnet kidnaps Bree, which we clearly know that entire storyline has been wrapped up and sent and done. So it's going to be interesting to see what sort of plays out next, and if they jumble any more of the book timeline around to suit. And how fast things move forward throughout this season. like I said earlier, I have already watched episode 2, so I don't want to speak too much about the timeline of the episode until the next, when we talk about that in the next episode, because there's a lot of things that not spicy, but like, there's a lot of things that speed up a bit, I think. So we'll save that for the next one. But yeah, there are so many different aspects in regards to the books that they're going to change timeline-wise. So I'm very interested to see what they do and do not include. I noticed also Fergus and Masali are not mentioned here at all. There was some scenes in the book where they are definitely involved, and they're definitely sort of more, at least mentioned or discussed. Oh, no, there was a scene, but they're completely side-shifted. So I'm really interested to see if throughout this season any of their story or their events come into play. I don't know if I think they will or not yet. I'm starting to think that Fergus and Masali are distant and probably won't be in so much. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But I really loved the way that they didn't overshadow anybody. Like, the main storyline of this episode was certainly Jamie and Claire, well, Claire in particular, and Tom Christie. So I'm really glad that they didn't try to fit in all these little bits and tidbits along the way, but I'm very interested to see how they portray that throughout the rest of the season. So that's all I have for today in this season 7, episode 1 recap video. I hopefully will have the second episode done and recapped and up for you guys tomorrow. I'm going to attempt to film that today. So if you're seeing this video today, hopefully you'll be able to click, and tomorrow there'll be season 7 episode 2 video, and then we're going to aim for the very next day after they air. I'm going to try my hardest to have them released as soon as possible after the episode, and I would really like to know what you think. Do you like that I'm including book references into what's happening in regards to the episode, or do you want me to just keep it strictly episode to avoid any book spoilers? Let me know what you think, because like I said, it's been a long time in between my Outlander videos, and I would love to format them to suit what the majority want to view, because I mean, I'm happy to talk about Outlander in any way, shape or form. I could do separate videos. I could do only book videos. I could do only, you know what I mean? I'm happy to do anything that you guys want to see, because I'm happy to talk about Outlander in any way, shape or form. And I can't wait to one day, when this is complete behind me, do a full tour of my Outlander merch that is just sitting back there. Like, we have a little Claire here and a Jamie here, and I would really love to be able to show all that off. So I'm going to try very hard to get the background sorted so that there's some very pleasing things to look at back there. I hope you all have a wonderful day and you're enjoying our very, very amazing Outlander Season 7. Have a good day. Bye.